Hi, my name is Nico Rinehart, and this is episode 1 of a series I'm calling What Can We Learn? On this first episode, I have Birds of a Feather by Billie Eilish up. Right now, it's number 3 on the top 50 USA. And I've heard this song before, but I haven't really listened to it closely, so I'm going to listen to it once, then I'm going to do a second pass while taking notes, and then we'll talk about what I noticed. Alright, I've given the song a couple listens, and immediately what I notice is very much a Phineas Billie staple, because as I think everyone knows at this point, this is a production duo. Now, Billie is very good at production in her own right, as well as a singer, writer, director too. And her brother Phineas also produces all of her songs as well, along with her. And something that is a staple of their sound is pretty sparse and dark production. And this song is no exception. Immediately out the gate, it's very warm with each element. You know, the drums are pretty lo-fi and that snare is pretty low tuned. And it sounds like it might be going through some tape, or maybe it's just a very flubby snare. It has that kind of sound, a very fat plh sound. And that fat groove is going to lead us through pretty much the entire song, basically on a loop. And that drum track is immediately supported by this pretty mellow, almost completely sine synth melody, just going between a couple notes, and then immediately Billie comes in. I think that's very interesting. It's not much of an intro, and I think we're gonna see that a lot on the top 50 charts, because you wanna grab someone in like the first 5 seconds. If they're bored, they're just gonna skip through. Now with streaming services, it's so easy to just click one button and skip, and especially a song mid-album, it seemed like they really wanted to grab the audience's attention right out the bat. Now next, and this also goes for most if not all of Billie and Phineas's work, they really know how to play with the frequency spectrum. They know where Billie's voice sits, and they know where the rest of the instruments should sit around that. You'll hear in a lot of Billie records, especially When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? It's a lot of Billie's voice, that kind of high mid-range, and then you'll have some weird high frequency percussion, and then you'll have a really, really low kick and like sub bass, and that's kind of the formula. Now here, I wouldn't describe it as that dark as that record. I think this is more mellow and warm. And I mean, with this Sonic'scape, if you look at the album cover, they really nailed it there. So then as the song progresses and her vocal comes in, I think it's very interesting because her vocal chain doesn't change that much. You'll have an effect here and there, but normally it's pretty cut and dry. And I think here it's very interesting because you have the long haul reverb, but then you have a slap that I almost don't want to call it a slap. It's a pretty slow slap. Adding some extra fullness with the vocal lends to a really cool sonic space. And that slap delay is super, super wide. So you're getting the mono kick and snare, the mono vocal with a really wide reverb and a really, really wide slap that it just kind of hugs you in the headphones. It sounds really nice. And then when the chorus comes in, I wouldn't say the first chorus especially, the dynamic doesn't really change that much, but the energy definitely does go up, and I really feel like it opens a lot. And that has to do with Billie's harmonies and Billie's background vocals comes in, and that adds some high end, and that's what adds excitement, energy, and kind of openness. And of course, you know, Billie was in a chorus when she was homeschooled, and she's just amazing, amazing at harmony. I also think it's important to talk about the vocal rhythm that she's bringing in here, because I think it's pretty interesting. I think she has a really, really good mix of kind of long legato notes and maybe slower changes, and then faster da 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 da. You know, combining the two really makes this genuinely kind of stagnant production. It adds a lot of movement, and they're doing a lot to add a lot of movement here to what is essentially kind of a glorified loop. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I think they're doing a lot of things to change it up, but the writing is very, very simple, but incredibly effective. Obviously, it's kind of hard to talk trash about something that's on the top 50 charts. They're obviously doing something right. But then when it goes into that second verse there, you know, you had all this instrumentation that's super verby, super spacey, and you had these vocals and these background vocals that were like drowned in reverb, gave this really nice lush space. And now when it goes back into the verse, you're reminded of what the verse initially sounded like. It's pretty sparse and it's relatively dry compared to the chorus, but you didn't know until you went back to the beginning, which is what the verse is doing. I think that's really cool. And it definitely stood out when I first listened to it. I also think that it's interesting that the second verse is more sparse than the first verse. I think that's very interesting because normally, you know, you introduce the verse, the most bare bones verse, and then you go to the chorus, and then the second verse has a little bit more to it, and you have this kind of linear progression up, and it's pretty predictable. But we see a lot with Billie and Phineas that they kind of like to play with your expectations a bit. Okay, and then it goes into the birds of a feather part again. This is a really fun cliche that I really do like. You have the lead vocal go into the chorus again, maybe up an octave or something, and they're holding out notes, they're riffing over it, and the background vocals are singing the actual normal harmony that is supposed to be sung in the chorus. Super cliche, super fun. Cliche is not always a bad thing. I think it's a really, really great move for the next part of this song. Okay, really fun. I'm just not realizing that kind of fuzzy, maybe synth bass sound that has a long release on it. Loving the resurgence of 80s that's happening in pop music. It's been happening for a while. And this is, I definitely wouldn't call this song or this record at all inspired by the 80s, but you still have those production techniques and that instrumentation that is inspired by it, because that's just kind of the state of pop right now, and it's very, very exciting to see. But also that portamento synth that comes in. Portamento is just, you know, when you hold one key, then you hold another key, it slides up instead of just going da da, it's da. It slides between. That's a really, really fun kind of instrumental part of the song. And I've always loved Billie and Phineas for their kind of instrumental interludes and stuff like that. All right, and at the end of each analysis, I kind of want to give each song kind of like a thesis statement of like, this is the main thing I took away from this song. And as for a lot of Billie Eilish's music, what I take away from it is really just the beauty in simplicity and sparse production, because you can get so carried away with adding layer after layer of synth, all this stuff. Now they really do go crazy with the vocal harmonies, but that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the actual instrumentation. In terms of instrumental tracks, they don't really have that much. I think that really lets the writing, the musicality shine, the amazing musicianship of Billie Eilish, of course, and her amazing vocal performance, and also her beautiful lyrics really, really shine through. You know, the thing I take away from this is don't add too much of what shouldn't shine. You know, what should shine here is her amazing vocal performance, her beautiful angelic voice, her musicianship, her writing, her lyrics. That's what should shine. And we want the production to support that and not get in the way of that. All right, I hope my commentary has been insightful at all. Maybe not. If you have any suggestions for songs I should do, you can leave a comment below. Any questions, you can leave a comment below. If you found it insightful, leave a like, subscribe, do what you want. It's fine. But I hope to make more videos like this, because I really, really enjoy kind of going into songs that maybe I don't listen to a whole lot, see what I can take from them and put into my own art. All right, so I'll see you in the next one. Have a good rest of your day.